And welcome back here to Fox and Friends. Financier Bernard Madoff accused of running a Ponzi scheme and fleecing quite a few people out of their life savings.
Geneen Roth lost 30 years of retirement savings in that scheme, but she isn't losing hope, and she's our guest this morning. Thank you so much, Geneen, for coming here and telling your personal story, because I know in a certain way it's kind of an embarrassment to say, oh yeah, well, I did invest with this guy, and yeah, I did have some questions, but I still kept my money there, right?
I think part of the reason I'm here is, first of all, to tell people my story, to tell people that it wasn't just very wealthy people who invested in Madoff. I know 20, 30 people who invested in Madoff. Some people who are absolutely devastated right now. Some people who are homeless right now. And for me, it was shocking. It was devastating. And it still is. There are waves of grief of it. And then there's also the necessity to understand what I still have. Not just what I don't have, but the fact that I can talk. I can walk, I can breathe, I can see, I can go outside. There's so much, there's a kind of back and forth between the tragedy and the devastation, and also landing in this very present moment with what's still here.
And also walking and talking and writing, and you're a fantastic writer, and you wrote an interesting article, a bit of a column on this whole experience and how you were fleeced by Bernard Madoff. And I just want to read a little snippet because it's fascinating. You said you were standing in your kitchen wondering what you were going to have for lunch when your friend Taj called. Then you put the phone down, your life savings were gone. My genius financial guru, Bernard Madoff, was in handcuffs, and I felt as if I had died. And for some odd reason, I was still breathing. Now that you put a little distance in between that moment back in December and now, what have you learned about that process? And take us through that.
Great question. Well, first of all, I've learned that fortunes come, and we didn't have a fortune, but for us, 30 years of retirement was our nest egg. Things come and go very quickly. It was here, and now it's not. It was like the moment I found out my dad was dying. And that he died. He was here, and then he was gone. And so that's one thing I learned. I learned to actually stay in this moment, that if my mind starts going off into fear, hysteria, worry, can my husband and I keep our house?
Right.
How are we going to live? What's going to happen if we get sick? Then I'm lost. I'm gone. That my mind, living in my mind, Bernie Madoff could steal my money, but the fact, if I keep ranting in my mind and I'm angry and I go to bed and I'm all kind of terrified, then he steals my life too.
But what should happen to Bernie Madoff? Because he's still out. And a lot of people are wondering, how the heck could the government let this guy walk free on the streets?
I'm wondering that too. I feel like he should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And we should find out what happened. We should find out who's involved. But again, what I say in my article is that what I'm in control over is speaking out, but also what happens to my mind and also my community.
Are you outraged at all this morning? Of course, the news of the day is that there was checks for $173 million sitting on his desk that he was going to send to friends. Are you outraged when you hear that?
Of course I'm outraged. Of course this is horrible. This is not just what he did to me, to my friends, what he did to countless other people, again, many of whom were not wealthy at all. There's been a thing in the news, perception in the media, that
it was billion-dollar
millionaires and billionaires, and it's
But there were a
not.
lot of go-between people, and you fell victim to that, and we thank you for sharing your story with us today, Geneen Roth. Thanks so much.
Yeah, sure.
Well, if a marriage breaks you up, sometimes